Pulses, we are going to be talking about the edible oil as a sector, and the soybean crop depends on the abundant rains that normally fall during the month of June through September monsoon. Sufficient production means lower dependency on edible oil imports for India. Joining me now to take this discussion forward is Mr. D.N. Pathak. He's Executive Director at the Soybean Processors Association of India. Mr. Pathak, hi, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. And as a point that Mr. Kothari was making, that not too much and not too less, and a timely monsoon is what we are looking for right now. How are you, first of all, looking at monsoon, and what's your sense on the Kharif edible oil as a sector? You watch soybean very closely, but we also are looking at groundnut, various other edible oils. What is your sense?
I am very happy to hear about the monsoon long-term prediction and what will happen, 102% or 106%. But overall, if we have that kind of monsoon and the distribution is not too bad, then I think edible oil crops, particularly soybean crop, we will have a good crop. We have been having good crop for the last 2 consecutive years and over 12 million tons. I think this year also the crop is going to be good. We've been talking to farmers, and there's not too much shift happening from the soybean to other crops, although pulses have given such a good return that some farmers may want to shift to pulses, but not too much of that. In Malwa region in Madhya Pradesh, where the major soybean growing area is there, and in Vidarbha and Marathwada area of Maharashtra, there's going to be there's very little shift in Madhya Pradesh, and some shift perhaps 1 or 2%. So overall, I think we will have the same kind of area coverage from soybean, and the yields I'm expecting they will be better than last year. So I'm expecting a crop which is certainly going to be better than last year, which is a good news for the soybean industry. Of course, groundnut also gives a lot of edible oil, but that's more of a table nut. So on the soybean front, I think we are comfortable. If we are able to export also, as we have done this year, we have done, I think we will be doing better than last year. Maybe about 2 million tons of soybean meal will be exporting, riding on one factor, that is Iran. So I think we are looking at a very good, very good crop and very good scenario for soybean farmers and the industry both. Farmers are telling us that they are ready for sowing, and everybody is expecting that the sowing should start immediately after the monsoon sets in, which is somewhere around the 15th or 12th of June. So if that happens and the distribution is good, we will have a very good crop beginning of October.
All right, that's a very hopeful scenario there, that everything looks absolutely perfect here. But Mr. Pathak, what is not so perfect really is the policies that we have right now with the kind of cheaper imports that we've seen in the last very many months. Do you see that impacting the sowing at all?
See, we have been seeing this flip-flop on policies and very inconsistent policies as far as the sector is concerned. I think the government's concerns are inflation, but it's somewhat skewed because the farmer is also a consumer. So we've not been able to understand, but as you know, this is an election year and the government's priorities are somewhere else right now. But we are very sure, we are almost certain that as soon as the new government comes in, we will have a policy for the next 5 years, a consistent policy. And the Prime Minister has said we want self-sufficiency in edible oils. So we will go for edible oil productivity increase whole hog. And the National Mission on Edible Oils, which is in the making for the last 5 years, will certainly see the light of the day. And if that happens, we will see hopefully a large escalation in oilseed production. Which means a large escalation in oil availability in India. So I'm hoping that the government will wake up, and immediately after the government is formed, there will be certainly an increase in the customs duty, which has been ranging from 0 to 8% to 9.55%. So we are certainly hoping that this will happen. We have also made representations to this effect that this is hurting farmers. You see, we saw soybean prices going up to 5,500 rupees in the beginning. Then they fell below MSP. Then on some support from overseas, now they are almost at MSP, or 2 rupees here and 2 rupees there. So the farmer is really feeling that this is somewhat short-charging him. He needs a better price and better realization. So with the duty increase, I'm sure the farmer will get a better price, and the industry will also function better. The meal demand will increase, and overall scenario should be good. If the duties increase, which we are hoping it will increase.
Okay. Well, yes. Too much of volatility in case of prices is always not good for the consumer, for the processor industry, or for consumers as well, for that matter. I just want to understand one thing, Mr. Pathak, and in sense of numbers, if you can, the dependability that India has as of now on import of edible oil, and where do you see us in next 5 to 7 years? If the national mission of edible oil does take off. And as you said, we should be looking at next 5 years, a very stable, consistent policy. So what is our dependability now? And even if we have this on paper and some of it takes off on the ground, in next 5 years, where do you see the number?
I think the if was in capitals. But if all that happens, which you are saying, I certainly see an increase in the edible oil, oilseed availability, which means the edible oil availability in the country. We are nowhere near the self-sufficiency that we have been talking about. That's nowhere near in the next 5 years or even the next 10 years, because we are growing, our consumption is growing, our population is growing, and productivity and production is not keeping pace at the same rate. It cannot. Actually, we need other crops also. So the area shift is too much shift is not possible because we have other crops to grow. So productivity increase enhancement is the one way where we can grow more. Like soybean has a lot of scope for at least 1.5 times the productivity now. Mustard seed, which gives a lot of oil, has a lot of scope. Sunflower oil we have lost completely in the last 10 years. If we grow sunflower in 1 million hectare area, we'll get another 500,000 oil. So overall, if the mission goes on, and the private sector, public participation, and the government, as it is saying that they will want to do it in a very honest manner, then I think we will see some increase and some decrease in the self-sufficiency. So from the current 60%, maybe we'll go up to 50%. I don't see more than that happening in the next 5 years. But if we continue with this, maybe 30%, 40%. We will never be self-sufficient, at least not in the next 10 years.
All right. Well, yes, that's a bit of a concern, isn't it? But yes, with the kind of growing population and growing standard of living, and of course, there are a lot of international markets which are perhaps only producing edible oil for us. So I'm assuming that is that global trade to take a look at as well. But Mr. Pathak, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for making sense of this sector called edible oils. With that, we are heading into a short break. But coming up, we turn the spotlight on cotton in a discussion with Mr. Atul Ganatra. He's president of Cotton Association of India. Stay tuned.